Hey, what's up? It's Fuel Your Life Friday. Let's go. National Florida Day is on January 25th, which recognizes the 27th state to join the United States. As of May 11th this year, I will mark 10 years of being a Florida resident. It is crazy to me that 10 years have passed. I love this beautiful state more than I can even describe. I could 100% do without the mosquitoes and the fire ants, but for the most part, this is the most at home I have felt in my life. Florida, of course, is a large tourist destination known wildly for Disney World, but there is so much more to do than spending cheddar and hanging out with the mouse. So today, I'm hitting you with a few of my favorite spots in the grand state of Florida. Because the Sunshine State is home to the oldest established city in the country, it's only appropriate that number one be St. Augustine. St. Augustine is actually what drew me to living in Florida. About 12 years ago, when I was pregnant with my first daughter, my partner had made a comment around 9 p.m. at night, we were living in Maryland at the time, that he had never been to Florida. I was seriously shocked because as a kid, I'd been to Florida numerous times. My aunt had lived in Orlando. It was just really part of my childhood memories. So by 11 p.m. that night, we had packed our bags, a cooler. I had typed in Florida beaches into our GPS, and we were southbound from Maryland to Florida. It took us 12 hours, but we ended up in St. Augustine and fell in love. We made a commitment to move to Florida, and 2 years later, we did. Now, the Nights of Lights in St. Augustine, which runs through the 31st this month, is the most magical thing. The entire historic city of St. Augustine is lit up in white lights. There are carriage rides and sailboats that float by on water that are all lit up. It is seriously amazing. If you can go closer to Christmas time, oh my goodness, even better. The lighthouse in St. Augustine is beautiful. It also holds a very haunting story. There are tons of things to do, but you've got to hit up A1A Burrito Works for some Baja fish tacos. I am obsessed with the beachside location. Seriously, I have driven 3.5 hours to St. Augustine just for these tacos before. It's a hippie looking shack, but it seriously serves up the best tacos. Next up, Sanibel Island. Sanibel Island, as well as Captiva, which is its neighboring sister island, are on the Gulf Coast, and it is known for its amazing shells. If you're into shelling or even snorkeling and are looking for some calm Gulf Coast waters, you've got to hit up Sanibel. It's very islandy without the commercial restaurant, so I would suggest if you're staying in an Airbnb or even doing a day trip, hit up the grocery store before you head across the bridge or pack a lunch for your day trip. The restaurants on the island are pretty decent. Unfortunately, I haven't found one that I can super rave about, but if you found one, share it with me so I can try it next time I go back. Sanibel is really sleepy, but it has some of the best wildlife spots. And be sure to grab a mesh bag so you can put all your seashells in it, okay? That way the sand falls out if you're not big on shelling. Next up, Siesta Key. Okay, dare I say that this is my favorite beach in Florida? And when I say beach, I'm talking sand. White sand beaches that are silky soft. They don't get hot, and not to mention, they're huge. The water is pretty much always calm, and you can wade in it for what seems like eternity, only going up to your waist. There are lots of sand dollars and starfish, and of course, little fishies can be found in the water as well. My kids love Siesta Key. If you need a spot to hit after the beach, there's a little daiquiri bar nearby that's delicious. There's also a few oyster bars around as well. Next, Jupiter Cove. Jupiter Cove was actually a first for us this past summer, but it was so much fun. With a lighthouse in the background, it's very picturesque. It's a fun and family area as well to just spend the day and chill. We actually spent our morning at Jupiter Cove, and then we went north a little bit to Coral Cove Beach, which had some of the clearest water that I had ever seen on the Atlantic side, north of Key West. Some of my other favorite spots in that area are Hutchinson Beach, Blowing Rocks Preserve, and Bathtub Beach. These are all best, in my opinion, I would say, at low tide. And last but certainly not least, the Space Coast. So there are tons of places on the Space Coast, which is composed of Brevard County. This is the place that I call home and I just adore. Famously, the Space Coast houses the Kennedy Space Center. Watching the SpaceX launches from just about anywhere on the Space Coast is probably my favorite thing about living here, especially the nighttime launches. Turkey Creek is one of our favorite places to walk around and see manatees and gators and all of the wildlife in between. And speaking of wildlife, the Sebastian Inlet is perfect for kids to wade around in and have manatees swim up to you. And of course, if you follow me on social media, you already know that one of my favorite places that I take almost every out-of-town guest to is Mustard's Last Stand. They have some of the best hot dogs I've ever had. They are Vienna beef hot dogs with the most insane combinations of toppings. If you stop by, try out my favorites, the Sunny, the Pittsburgh, or the Boston, or heck, get them all three. And hey, the Great Greek is on point too. I could really extend this episode and list dozens of other fun and amazing places in Florida. It's unique, full of wildlife, ever so changing, and surely has captured my heart. If you find yourself in Florida, be sure to hit me up. I'm always down to share my experiences and more local favorites. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, and be sure to leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you tune in and turn it up. I'll see you back here next week, but until then, remember, every level of life is an opportunity to grow. Be well, my friend.